Good afternoon. It's absolutely amazing to be here. The last time I was here was actually to be here when Chief Demke got sworn in, and it's wonderful to be here. Councillors, it's nice to see you. Members of the Toronto Police Service Board, Deputy Chief, Superintendents, Inspector Gur, Inspector Rinkoff, Rabbi Flansrich, and my great friend and colleague, who I see more than my own family, MPP Laura Smith, our great MPP from Thornhill. Welcome. I'm so grateful that the Toronto Police Service is taking the time to recognize Jewish Heritage Month. Ontario is home to the largest Jewish population in Canada, and Toronto is at its heart. And I've lived in Toronto my whole life. I've lived in Clanton Park all of my married life. Toronto is good because the people here are great. And I want to give a shout out to the partnership and collaboration that exists between our community and Toronto Police Services. We embrace people from every walks of life. And as I've said throughout my travels in Ontario, and the same holds true today, it doesn't matter where we come from or how we got here. It matters that we're all here together, that we recognize that our diversity is our greatest strength. And today we come together to reflect and to celebrate and reflect upon the many contributions and continued vibrancy of Toronto and Ontario's Jewish community. Ontario is blessed, it's absolutely true, with a Jewish community that itself is diverse. When we think of diversity, we have to look also to the Jewish community, because some of our descendants came from Eastern Europe, and those are Ashkenazi Jews, and some came from Morocco and Spain and other countries in North Africa, and those are Sephardic Jews. Others consider themselves Israelis who came from Israel, and those are Mizrahi. And we have Orthodox, and we have conservative, and we have, as Rabbi Flansrich will tell you later, we have people from all walks of life. And you know what? We embrace everybody, and that's the specialness about our Jewish community. But we have challenges too. We know that anti-Semitism is on the rise, and I'm so glad that my great friend Michael Levitt is here, and for the great work that he's doing with the Friends of Simon Wiesenthal. Michael, you seamlessly moved from one career path where you were an MP, my MP from York Centre for over 5 years, to the role that you play, which is so important. And we must be vigilant, and we must understand that we have a right to live safely in our own homes and communities. And we need to condemn acts of anti-Semitism when it happens. We must call it out, and that's exactly what we do. And I again want to give a special shout out to the Toronto Police Service, who understands the sensitivities that many in our communities have. The Jewish community as well, and you have been very helpful when we have seen acts of anti-Semitism. You are there to investigate it, and you are there to send a message that it won't be tolerated in our communities. I can tell you that as Ontario Solicitor General, there is absolutely nothing more important to me than the safety of our communities. I said in the legislature, and MPP Smith was there, when we got a question last fall. There was an incident, I remember about it, and they asked me a question in the legislature. And this is exactly what I said. Anti-Semitism is toxic to our democracy. And when we combat anti-Semitism, we protect our human rights and our human dignity for all, and we protect our common values in our communities. We must stand up against all forms of hatred. And this is critical, because people don't differentiate, the people that wish people ill don't always differentiate forms of hatred. We will always call all forms of hatred out, and I want to be clear on this, but especially with anti-Semitism, especially because the Jewish community has deep roots in our province. My own grandfather was born steps from here in 1905, and he was one of the first graduates of the then school, the predecessor School of Pharmacy at the University of Toronto in 1930. He became a pharmacist because he couldn't get into the medical school because of the quotas and the biases against Jewish people there. And I look around this room and I see Inspector Rinkoff and Inspector Gurr and other people who are either part of the Jewish community or umbilically tied to the Jewish community because of their love of their community. So this year's Jewish Heritage Month is significant. We marked last week the 75th anniversary of the founding of the State of Israel. And Michael Levitt and Councillor Pasternak was there and others were there. It was very unbelievable to see the flag of Israel be raised at the House of Democracy that MPP Smith and I call home. It was an unbelievable day. In closing, I want to say and reinforce what Premier Ford says every day. We have a right to live safely in our community, safely. We have a right to raise our families there. We have a right to play in our parks. We have a right to work there. And we have a right to pray there. And thanks to Premier Ford and our government, we will always have the backs of everyone that keeps Toronto safe. As we say in the Jewish community, we should all go from strength to strength. And thank you. Thank you, Inspector.